Bunny music's playing. There we go. Now try talking.
Let me know if you can hear me and only me. No weird Egyptian background music.
This turns you up too.
Just had to get you all hyped for the Tuesday Night Live over here. All right, we're gonna restart this intro for like the third time. I didn't really say much. I just said it's a Tuesday night over here in the Corey household, and I am gonna make a little bit of dinner. I've got my mic on, so you guys will see and hear me while I'm walking around and talking. I thought maybe you would enjoy seeing me eat dinner. I'm gonna try to eat dinner and talk. That's gonna be interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna make a little dinner because when I get off here, both dogs, one of them in particular is already whining for dinner. He's gonna have to wait. But I wanted to do a live tonight. We did the Buff Bunny collection live over the weekend. So real quick, for any of my Buff Bunny babes out there, thank you so much for those of you that joined that and made a purchase using discount code Kara for 10% off. I am on a little bit of a struggle bus with I'm not quite sure what's going on other than my body shutting down on me. I don't know if it was like overuse of being on my phone trying to answer DMs over the weekend, or if I've got something else going on in my neck or back, but having like some severe pain that kind of feels a little carpal tunnel-y. Regardless, it's preventing me from being on my phone and answering DMs. So if you're kind of waiting for a response from me, just if you could be patient, I will be getting back to everyone. But just wanted to kind of throw that out there. But yeah, we're going to talk about some successful tips on how to truly get lean from an expert, from a dietitian. In my opinion, there's obviously a lot of different ways that you can get lean, right? It's not, to me, it's not rocket science. There's a lot of ways you can go about getting lean. But in order to really do it successfully and in a way that doesn't screw you up, whether or not you're planning to get lean and stay there or kind of come out of it, there's definitely some strategies that can be used to do so. Just checking the comments to see who's here. Say what's up. Glad you guys can hear me now. Thank you to the Discord ladies that have joined me. I feel so bad I haven't been in the group at all to be able to catch up. Very interesting though. I like to think about being a registered dietitian, going through school, at least when I did, which was a bit ago, but I think even RD2Bs, I see Brooke is an RD2B here. You know, they don't really like, when you're in school, I think a lot of people think when you go to school to become a dietitian, that's what you learn, is to help people lose weight and get lean. And that is probably, I feel like, the smallest part of what you learn. Like, you learn the basic formulas for how to calculate caloric needs, how to make adjustments. There may be some talk about weight maintenance or weight loss phases. I personally saw more of that in my master's degree program, where you can't really minor in a master's degree, but I kind of specialized more in exercise science and did a lot of those classes. So I got more of those specific topics in my exercise science courses versus my courses required to be a dietitian. So it's funny to me. I just like to throw that out there. But you know, more of it's a lot of MNT, medical nutrition therapy, and just a lot of stuff, quite honestly, that you're probably not here for. But I wanted to talk about this because partly I'm always kind of dabbling with, do I want to do an official let's get lean phase? I've been in this really good maintenance phase for a long time. I did a summer cut last year. You guys loved those videos, and knowing that those videos did so well and get really good views and a really good response always kind of makes me want to jump into a cut just for content, but that'd be super irresponsible on my part. And I've been through this long enough where I know you don't just jump into a cut for content or for likes. And I think that's something to put out into the world too, with Instagram and social media, TikTok, everything ever changing, people trying to get the most views, the most likes. You know, being in a leaner body sometimes can and will get you more exposure. You'll be taken more seriously. But for me personally, I don't ever want to jump into a cut for content. That wouldn't be appropriate. It's not what I'm about at this stage in my life. But at this stage in my life, this is like my favorite stage in my life, every year. I'm grateful to be here that I am 2 months. No, my birthday's in 1 month, and then begins October, which is my birthday month. So we started out with my birthday, and then I feel like I celebrate it all month long with fall, and Jay and I go on vacation the end of October. So I would like to do possibly a cut for the end of October. But yeah, so I've been rambling and haven't really given you guys any tips yet. I'm gonna start getting my dinner ready, which I'd love to see some comments if you want to throw in there what you're having for dinner, if it ends up being an appropriate time zone for you that you're eating dinner or not. But throw it in the comments. Let us know what you're eating for dinner or what you already did eat for dinner. Y'all are probably gonna laugh at me for what I'm about to eat. You may be surprised. You may be surprised what I'm about to eat. But I feel like a lot of people get confused with eating in terms of feeling like you need to eat certain things at certain times. And while, you know, trying to get lean, you're obviously going to be cutting calories. I think most in the industry can agree that to get lean and be successful at it, you are going to have to cut some calories, right? So how you go about doing that and modifying your food choices is going to be different for everyone, in effort for it to really be maybe a little bit easier versus super hard, super drastic, and we'll get into all those things. But for me personally, throwing out any rules in terms of you have to eat certain foods at certain times of the day. For instance, I'm going to make breakfast for dinner tonight, and I think some people might be like, well, that's weird. And if you say that's weird, I really can't relate, because breakfast is good any time of day. But I work at a hospital, so I don't get the luxury of like cooking eggs on the stovetop and eating like toast out of a toaster and just having that nice hot warm breakfast. So for me personally, sometimes it's a nice switch to have breakfast at dinner time. And Jason made me a really bomb lunch today, so that was fantastic. So I got veggies and protein and fruits and all those things in during my workday. And now I just want like a nice meal of toast and eggs. So for dinner tonight, I'm gonna be making just some Ezekiel raisin toast. I'm gonna make some, I had this last night too, and the night before. I think this will be my third night in a row, which there is nothing wrong with that. I feel like that is another tip I can give you for being successful in terms of, I'm probably gonna do some avocado too. Being successful with getting lean is finding some staple meals. Start, not only number one, you're gonna have to go into a calorie deficit, but finding some staple meals that you truly enjoy. It takes a little bit of work. That sounds like a super easy statement, but most times when I work with clients, they don't have staple meals locked down. On a rare occasion, I work with someone that's maybe already been through a coaching phase or bodybuilding, things like that. They sometimes have their staple meals, but I find a lot of people don't necessarily like to eat the same things every day. The way the world is right now, people are so busy, a lot of eating out. I eat out, you know, at least weekly, I would say. But, you know, a lot of people succumb to the temptations that are always surrounding them, whether it's in their home or in their day job. And that can be a challenge in terms of being successful with a cut or getting really lean as well. What are you guys having for dinner? We've got some tacos up in here. I've always wanted to try HelloFresh, never tried it, but I do find meal prep companies are sometimes really helpful. I did Icon Meals for a while and really quite enjoyed them. I actually forgot how much I enjoyed them until Letitia mentioned the other day she was heating up a meal, and I'm like, dang, why don't I have some of those ready to go in my freezer? But yeah, I'm just gonna keep it simple tonight. I don't have anything planned. I normally never do in the evenings. I plan my meals during the daytime, and then at nighttime, I usually wing it, which maybe isn't the most successful way if you are trying to get lean. It can be more helpful if you have planned out meals. Nothing that you have to follow to a T. Like, you don't have to eat the same meals every single day, but just having some consistency within your diet, knowing what meals you like that fill you up, that satisfy you, and always trying to have a variety of those foods on hand is definitely going to make you successful in terms of weight maintenance or entering into a cut and getting lean. I agree with Mel. It's definitely okay to eat the same foods every day. If you've kind of locked down what works for you, I always like to contrast with Jason because we're very different, and some people find that odd. That I should probably start cooking my eggs if I'm ever going to eat. Some people find that very odd that Jason and I eat very different. Like, I don't come home from work and have this like home cooked meal where we sit at a table and eat dinner together. We're on different schedules. We're doing different things. We like different foods. That's never been something super important to us. So when we actually do go out and have a meal together or sit down together, that is really nice to have that together. But we're always just kind of eating our own thing. But Jason is very much that person that has locked down the foods that work from him, from maintaining a pretty shredded physique, if I do say so myself, as well as kind of keeping him at the healthiest place possible, that he feels his best, which is most important to him, is feeling his best and, you know, maintaining any symptoms or lack of symptoms ideally. So the way him and I eat are very different, you know. That in itself can make it really hard if you live with someone who doesn't share the same ideas as you in terms of what you like to eat or when you're going to eat. I don't know if any of you guys have any issues with living with someone that maybe has a lot of like tempting food on hand. I want to talk about temptations because I feel like that's just something that always derails people, because when you're first wanting to get lean, who doesn't want to get lean, right? Like who really is like, you know what? I'm going to pass. I'd rather not be lean. If you didn't have to put in any effort whatsoever, if you didn't have to change one thing at all in your life, I feel like most people would be like, yeah, I'll take the six-pack abs. I'll get lean. I'll get shreddy. Most people would want that, right? Maybe not everyone, but most people would. But that actual initiation of putting it into action sometimes doesn't happen. I hear a lot of people want, but don't ever do anything to actually put stuff into action. Or you get someone who all of a sudden they are highly motivated, right? They're super motivated, they're ready to go. And that motivation, it just only lasts so long. So you can want it all day long, but the motivation is going to die out. Other things are going to kind of outweigh the motivation that you may have. And that is when you really have to figure out how to lean into lifestyle changes and behavioral changes that support your goals and support this being able to be sustainable, if you will. I feel like it's a little bit different getting lean for a competition versus getting lean for your lifestyle. So my responses here may be like a little bit different if I'm talking about getting competition lean. I feel like when you get competition lean, there's just like no excuses, man. Sorry, I gotta stir my eggs here. I'm just doing one whole egg and then 2 egg whites, and apparently a little side of egg shell crunch, if you will. And then I think I'm gonna add some avocado on top of this too. And I think I already mentioned I'm doing the Ezekiel raisin toast. Something about this combo has been really, really filling and satisfying. I really don't eat a lot of eggs, not for any particular reason. I'm someone that goes through phases with eggs. So I'm not someone that always has staple meals. I have staple meals, but I'm not someone that eats the same food all the time. I should say that. It's always a little bit harder to talk and do these videos and cook food at the same time. I think I've done it one other time. And I find it a little bit challenging, but let me know if you guys like this or if you would rather in the future I just stand the fuck still. I can do that too. I was just looking at your comments. So let me get these eggs put away first. Actually, JJ needs those eggs. I'll take care of those after for little J-Man. You can get in the microwave. I'm not using it. No one's going to get pissed at you. I'm going to put my eggs on. So you figure out you want to get lean. You figure out what calories you need to start at. You start making changes. getting into that calorie deficit. In terms of being successful, I personally never recommend avoiding all food groups, like avoiding whole food groups, that is. Some people may need to for medical reasons, if you have certain medical conditions. I'm not dismissing those, but overall, your best way to get lean, it doesn't mean you have to cut out all fruits, all vegetables, everything but meat. Like, you don't have to follow these fad diets to get really lean. You honestly don't. You can still eat as much of a well-balanced diet as you're able to, understanding that as you're cutting calories, it can get a little more difficult to meet certain nutritional needs. Getting in enough fiber can start to get really tough. Certain vitamins, just getting that variety within the week can start to get really challenging depending on how hard you're going into a cut. But overall, you can still eat a really well-balanced diet. And truly, those that are the most successful with their behavioral changes and their weight loss phases are the ones that do include food in moderation and don't cut out specific food groups. For those folks that tend to cut out specific food groups, you tend to feel more restricted. And when you tend to feel more restricted, you are more apt to always be ready to feel like you're going to break and you're going to fail and you're just going to give in. So I like to encourage people, even if you are going through a bodybuilding cut, do as much as you can to have normalcy with your meals and what you enjoy eating on a day-to-day basis as much as possible, while still being cognizant of, you know, getting in that balance and variety as much as you can. The other thing I wanted to say too with temptations, I noticed this a lot. I mean, I've struggled with temptations. I work in a place where I wouldn't say there's like a lot of food around right now in my current job, but when I used to work in nutrition services in that position, there was always food around. It actually was my job. It was a requirement. We had to taste the food before it went out of the kitchen. We call it test trays. And that would trigger me some days if I was on prep and all of a sudden like a plate of macaroni and cheese and apple crisp was placed in front of me and I'm like, what the F?
That's the exact thing that they used to do, and you used to complain about that.
I'd be like, I don't want to make this decision right now. Like, I'm not supposed to eat this. I'm not going to eat this. But this is really annoying that I even have to look at this right now. Sorry, let me get the toast out of here so it's not like super loud. So that was just one example of a temptation. I was working, basically my office was in the back of the kitchen, so it didn't matter whether I was presented with a tray of food or not. I was chronically smelling food, whether it be in the kitchen or just like, you know, food the staff are bringing in or making. Like, I flipped out on my, now she's in my old role, but she brought in Mexican one day and she was just like, oh my God, this is so good. And I was like, can you stop? Like, you're being so rude. You know I'm competing. But, so that's like an extreme example I like to give, but the reality is those temptations are there all the time. And how do you learn how to deal with those temptations? Because your motivation isn't always going to be there to be like, yeah, man, I'm getting lean. I really want to lose weight. And those feelings are only going to be there for so long. So how do you deal with the temptations? I think it's good, not necessarily, I'm not like a big promoter of food rules. I actually am way against that. I come from a culture of food rules and having to improve my relationship with food. But from a place of kind of setting yourself up for success and being honest and realistic with your lifestyle, like really taking a hard look at where are the temptations, what are the past examples that have caused you to maybe say screw it with what your original plan was and veer and do something different that maybe you later regretted, or maybe you didn't. Maybe it was totally worth it. But really trying to think about behavior modification is really what I'm talking about here. And you may think getting lean is just about calories in, calories out. It's so much more than that. It is beyond, for those of us that can't do it and struggle to do it and struggle with weight, it's truly not always about not being disciplined. It's not that you just have no self-control and you're lazy and you're undisciplined and you're a weak individual. there's so many other factors that go into it in your day-to-day life that you really have to figure out how you're going to work with it. How are you going to work with it versus it working against you? And that is why everyone is very different. There isn't like this cookie cutter answer for weight maintenance or weight loss to get lean. Like if you want to maintain it, you really do have to figure out what's going to work best for you and how you can circumvent certain scenarios. This toast is so good, man. I forget about how good this toast is. Ezekiel cinnamon raisin toast. It just smells up the whole kitchen like cinnamon raisin toast. So anyways, one of the examples I like to give, again, I'm an example-based person. If you're someone that struggles and you find that you have certain patterns where every day at the same time you find yourself tired or you find yourself stressed and you're end up like going off your plan, or you're going to the vending machine, or you're reaching for additional snacks you maybe initially weren't going to have, trying to figure out where that's coming from. So there's a lot of different places that can kind of result in you giving in to temptations. And I do want to say that giving into temptations is not inherently a bad thing, but the video concept here is talking about getting lean. So yes, every little temptation that you give into going off plan can prevent you from getting to your goal. I don't know how many of you here in the chat have attempted a cut phase where you were really trying to get lean. I know a lot of people try to lose weight, but I'd like to know your experiences with it if you've done so. Whoa, that just like fell right out of there. That like never happens. I think this avocado is like, eat me now or else I'm turning brown in like 5 minutes. Some people are very black and white, and it gets really hard for them to learn the balance of it. Like I've had a lot of people say they just need someone to tell them how to eat and they'll do it. And like that, it just doesn't work like that. You're not going to be able to maintain that, and odds are you're probably going to fail from the start with that kind of an approach. The other thing that we have to talk about too when it comes to getting lean. How's this look, you guys? It looks a little sloppy. I don't know how on earth I'm going to eat this and talk to. I think that's probably not going to be possible. The other thing we have to talk about when it comes to weight loss. Some people don't agree with this. I have different thoughts on this, but I think finding some kind of way that works for you to measure your progress. So a lot of people really frown upon using a scale to weigh yourself. I myself don't hate a scale. I like a scale. I think it holds me accountable, but I don't like live and die by the scale. You know, like if I was someone that once did, where if I stepped on a scale and it went up a pound, I was like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? And everything was based on my weight. I am not that person anymore. So I think it really does depend on where you're at with your own self-image, food relationship with your body, and how you can handle this stuff. I like the data. It kind of lets me know if I'm still kind of hovering around the right track, because sometimes I can't go by how my body feels. Sometimes I can feel like I've gained 1,000,000 pounds just because I'm bloated or something. It's dysmorphic, it's out there, but it's a concept a lot of us can relate to, right? When you're having a day where you're bloated or crampy or you don't feel right, or maybe you ate something that caused you to feel that way. And you can just be like in your head about stuff. So sometimes going about how you feel, while it can be a good measure of progress, it's not always the only measure. Sometimes stepping on the scale randomly can be a helpful thing to let you know where you're at, because the flip side of it, for those that maybe get too obsessive with the scale, I've heard a lot of people that avoid the scale at all costs and then dread going to the doctor, dread getting weighed, which unfortunately that is still something that doctors have to do. And let me play devil's advocate for one moment. A lot of medication, you guys, has to be prescribed based on how much you weigh. So depending on how much you weigh, certain medications may be prescribed at higher or lower doses. So as much as you don't like getting weighed at the doctors, it does give some information that is medically needed. So I see a lot of people that dread going to the doctor to get that weigh-in. I'd rather just kind of have an idea of what I weigh and just hover there. That's kind of what I do right now. I'm adding pink salt, a little bit of Mrs. Dash, tomato, basil, garlic, and garlic sea salt. So we're having a nice salty dins. But I personally do like using the scale, especially if I'm in a cut. I do like daily weigh-ins. It doesn't do like, maybe I'll get a little emotional about it if I'm like in a competition mode, but other than that, my cuts have gone really well with keeping a daily weigh-in or most days of the week, and just having an acknowledgement for like how certain things are impacting me, or it gives me that like answer that, yeah, maybe I'm not like doing everything I need to do because the scale hasn't moved at all in 2 months. Doesn't mean you're not seeing progress, right? But it is a good indicator. How your clothes feel, or maybe identifying one pair of pants that's way too tight to try on can be a good indicator. But I think to be successful with actually losing weight and getting lean, you need to be monitoring progress. You know, some people just take photos. Photos tell so much. You can actually see a lot more in photos than you do on the scale, so I like to do both in combination. I don't know how many times, if you go back and watch my summer cut series from last year, I think overall I lost like 2 pounds or something. I don't know, I didn't lose much, but I feel like my body was considerably different by the end of my cut. And I wouldn't have known that just like thinking, oh, you only lost 2 pounds. But when you look at the photos and the video and the progress, I remember being so proud and impressed with what I had done because I knew I was very consistent the whole time. I was really putting like full effort into it and keeping a very balanced approach. And I made some really great changes, and it didn't negatively F me up at all. It wasn't like I came out of the cut and needed to go overboard on food. None of that, because I wasn't overly restricted. I was doing it the right way and as healthy as possible. And that does lead me to say, I do think you can go on a cut. You can lose weight. You can try to lose weight. There's healthy ways it can be done, and you shouldn't have to feel bad about it if you want to lose weight either, as long as you're in a healthy place to do so. I want to try to eat my toast, but I'm going to have food all in my teeth. This is not going to work. Let me at least lick my avocado and get it on my chin. The other thing I was going to say is, beyond the foods we eat, decreasing our calories a bit, measuring our progress, kind of having some behavioral modifications in place for the times that we're stressed or we're overworked or we're overtired or we've got temptations, and sorting through that and how to really have some tools in your toolbox for what to use. Beyond all that, the other piece there is exercise. Exercise is such a helpful tool and such a necessary tool, especially in long-term success if the weight you're trying to lose, you're trying to maintain. Exercise has been shown to be one of the biggest helpers in terms of those who've been successful with long-term weight loss. So finding ways to, enjoy your exercise, I think, is really helpful. And what feels good for one person is not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to moving your body. This little dude just wants a dinner. He's like, Mom, speed this up. It's not a one-size-fits-all. So you do kind of have to pick and choose what you like to do. And I know some people are just like, well, I hate working out. Well, unless you lay in your bed all day long and love that and don't ever move out of your bed, pretty sure we can find something you enjoy doing that requires moving your body. Doesn't necessarily have to be going to the gym, but I beg to say, if you're truly trying to get lean, part of that process is going to need to be maintaining or building as much muscle as possible, as well as cardiovascular workouts. So you can do that in your home, but to really get to the next level, I think a lot of people do find more success in the gym. Is it because it's out of the home? Is it because you're in a network of other people that hold you accountable? I do want to touch upon the fact that I just mentioned maintaining muscle or building muscle. The other thing that can truly help with getting lean and staying lean is making sure you're eating adequate amounts of protein. Sometimes that's the first thing I will work on with folks is that protein content. How much protein are you getting in? And are you spreading it out amongst your meals? And I say that because of how you break down protein and how full it can make you versus if you're just eating like one giant meal with all your protein in one sitting. In terms of the digestion and the absorption, that's not always ideal. You know, usually it will set most people up for better success to spread the food out throughout the day. But it doesn't always work for everyone. So again, it kind of depends on what your schedule is like, but really taking a look at your protein and making sure you're getting in enough protein, and a little bit higher protein has been shown to really be helpful in terms of weight loss without any negative side effects. I'm not talking for those of you who are actively getting dialysis at your local dialysis center. Obviously, there's certain scenarios where high protein wouldn't be indicated, but the average person, yes, you can have more protein and that will help fill you up, help maintain your muscles. I really feel like that's one thing that's helped me. I don't consider myself a lean person. I think because of being in bodybuilding, like lean to me is associated with a really low body fat and being able to see my muscles better. Although I consider myself a fit person, I do feel like I've really gotten a good way about my protein. And that was hard for me for a number of years. My background, I was vegetarian for a long freaking time and then randomly started eating meat when I got into bodybuilding because I did feel like I wasn't eating healthy. And you know, the lust and the allure of the meat eating days sometimes was just like, ugh, I don't want to do it. And it got really tough for me to eat enough protein. So I feel like I'm at finally a good place where I have a good balance of not eating protein snacks, if you will, for every meal, not trying to food shame any foods, but I personally feel my best if I have a combination of meat and non-animal source protein as well, and you know, I do whey protein too. So I don't know, I feel like I really locked that down, and that's been super helpful for me. It does make me a little bit interested to do a cut because I haven't done one, like a real serious one where I like really grind it. I definitely didn't grind last summer for the summer cut. That was more just like reestablishing my habits and getting myself consistent again, which was fantastic because I mean, I've maintained that over the past year, haven't I, Jay? Yep. And sometimes Jay tells me my body looks better than ever. Yep. In the booty, thanks to the Peloton, which I really haven't been doing because my body's a mess. But
I've done it 42 weeks straight.
Jason's a beast at the Peloton. Just to be a jerk, he PR'd under my handle name on the Peloton, so that every time I do a class now, I feel like shit about myself. I know. It's just funny though. I'm like, I'm gonna delete this because it's making me feel bad. But yeah, where was I going all that? So I talked about protein. I've really locked that down. I keep building and building every year. And you know, the point of this video wasn't to say you should try to get lean. It's just to kind of make you think about some of the things and what it takes to get there. And the first thing you always have to assess is there's a big difference between just trying to lose a little weight and to try to get really lean, especially if you're someone trying to get bodybuilding lean. I don't ever really recommend having a goal to get bodybuilding lean when you're not trying to compete. That's not really the time or the place. That's not really necessary. Some people are genetically gifted and they are more lean. Some people, depending on their jobs, it's their job. Maybe you're a freaking NFL player or something. I don't know, are they lean? Some of them are, depending on the position, I suppose. But you know, everyone's scenario is different. I sit at a desk all day and I commute back and forth to work. I'm just not going to be handed over a lean body. I do come from a small, tiny family, like small framed folks, so that's where I get my like small little frame from, but I like to eat a lot. I like food, but I do love working out. So I've found this balance, and I've found a balance that I've been able to kind of build upon year after year, where I've done the groundwork to really get in good behaviors. I know the days that I'm stressed out or I'm tired as fuck, what I can do versus just feeling like I felt once where it was like, well, screw it, screw the day. Let's just fuck some shit up and go eat some friggin', I don't even know, a whole jar of peanut butter or something stupid. I don't know. And that is a reality for a lot of people. So I think that can happen too more easily for those that are just chronic yo-yo dieters, chronic restrictors. And there's the people that restrict and aren't even aware that they're doing it on a daily basis, where they restrict during the week, and then on the weekend they go all in. And then they go back to restricting during the week, and they're like, why am I not getting anywhere with my progress? Like, some people just think that they can outwork this process, and you really can't. You can't just eat like shit 80% of the time and think you can make up for it by restricting and over-exercising. It's not going to give you the body of your dreams, and you're probably going to feel like shiitake and not have energy to even do anything. So I guess that just brings me back to my point of always assessing, is it worth it? Like, do you need to get super lean? Why? Why is that important to you? Where is that coming from? I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with just wanting to do a cut, get lean as shit, and be like, look, I'm lean as shit, and then kind of adjust back into your normal routine if you're able to handle that. There's a lot of people that just can't handle that because it's not easy. It's not an easy process. But I do have a different perspective. I think sometimes having the bodybuilding behind me with some of the stuff, with the tips and things that I give. What else in terms of getting really lean? The last thing, maybe one of the last things I want to mention is tracking and using some type of source for tracking. And I think long-term scale, you know, there's kind of the beginners to all this, that I think a tracking tool is 100% necessary to set you up for success. The MyFitnessPals, things like that, when you're really like unsure, like weighing your food and really kind of understanding like, how much does half an avocado actually weigh, or how much does that bowl of rice or bowl of cereal? Like, you know, so many people underestimate what they currently eat. And so it's such a good learning tool, in my opinion, to know that if you're a beginner. And then I think more of us who are a little more advanced, we've been doing it for years, you kind of have an understanding of portion size, of how much your body needs, and you can do it kind of without even tracking, get yourself into a caloric deficit. I've done that myself too. I think I'm someone that's savvy enough with my body, how much I eat, how much I need to eat, that I would be able to adjust everything I'm doing right now without being reliant on tracking in order to get lean. And I think that's really cool, because I don't think I could have said that when I was in the prime of competing. I think like all of that, I don't know, an obsession, if you will, with needing to know every single friggin' number. It was just like I had to have it, all or nothing mentality. It was just kind of like a bad place for a little bit there. But, you know, you can get to a point where you learn it and you can use it as a tool and not have to be so sucked into it all day long if you're someone that doesn't want to track. But it can be a really good tool, and I hate that it's kind of gotten a bad rap with some people through social media, like, if you track your macros, you're disordered eating, and that's just not the case whatsoever. And there's so much more context to that discussion than just saying that. But, you know, it's social media, so you got to say something clickable, and then you reel them in and you make your sale, right? For whatever you're trying to sell, because everyone's trying to sell something. I'm not trying to sell anything today. I'm just trying to eat my eggs and toast with avocado that's getting cold. Let's go to the comments section.
I'm using our LLC to buy a new food scale since you need it for videos.
This is Bruce Wayne next to me. Joe A. No! This is the problem with toast and eggs.
Well, I don't eat toast and eggs.
You have to hold it in such a way so it doesn't all fall off. We'll fuck with that after. Yeah, I feel like it's very true. The 2000 diet culture was nasty. It was very dangerous. And I think that probably took a bigger toll on me, more than bodybuilding did, quite honestly. Everyone likes to complain like bodybuilding screwed them up. Bodybuilding didn't screw me up. I was screwed up before bodybuilding, just being honest. But the 2000s with, you know, the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen and, well, I guess it was just Mary-Kate, right? Or Nicole Richie, and it was just like all the celebrities on every magazine, and it was just a comparison of who was the thinnest, and everyone was just rail thin. Hillary Duff, I'm like, come on, Hillary Duff, rail thin. So it's hard when you were like a female growing up at that time to not be impacted by those messages that we get. And those messages are still out there. Do you guys see Bruce Wayne staring so fucking hard at me right now? Biggs, you're gonna get dinner soon, okay? I promise. Yeah, so that stuff really impacts you. And I think that's part of the unpacking that needs to get done before you enter a cut or try to get lean. I think you need to be very self-aware of what you've gone through and if you have any issues, and just kind of process those things in terms of any triggers or red flags that could come up during the process that could maybe impact you negatively for the long term, because there's a mental health aspect to all this as well that I think is really important to keep in mind, because if you don't have your mental health, it does not matter how skinny you are. Skinniness doesn't bring you happiness. It just does not. Are people treated differently in certain bodies? I believe they are. I do believe they are. But that's never a reason to desire or change your life for it. So yeah, if you guys have any other comments on what you think I'm missing in terms of actionable things that can help you get lean, we'll do a quick recap here because it was a lot of me chit-chatting. But number one, calorie deficit is going to have to be established, and understand that it can take a bit for your body to get to a caloric deficit and figure out where that exact number is. And also remember, when you begin losing weight, that number in which you will lose weight at will adjust. It will change as you lose weight. As you become a smaller person and require less calories, you will have to continue to fine tune if you're trying to lose more and more weight. The other thing we have to do is be aware of what our triggers are and behavior modifications that need to come into play, because I think all of us can agree that motivation, it does not last. So you really need to, number one, figure out some discipline, of course. Figure out how to build this into your lifestyle. It requires discipline. It requires a little bit of grit. You know, not everything worth having comes easy. And the same is true when it comes to losing weight. It's not easy for any of us. So establishing that, also finding ways to monitor your progress. That way you can assess, you can make changes as necessary. Being mindful of those outward temptations, how you're going to handle them. In addition to that, looking at your exercise plan and what you're going to do. Bumping up the cardio will help that caloric output to put you into a higher deficit. So when you feel like you just can't cut the food anymore, the other thing you can always modify is your actual energy expenditure through exercise, through movement. And then a couple other plugs that I like to put in there too with getting lean. You can certainly get lean and not, have the best hormonal health or have the best sleep habits and things like that. But I do think that should be key and would make your life a heck of a lot easier if you are truly trying to get lean, to have those locked down as well prior to going into a cutting phase. Getting your hormones tested, making sure everything is optimal and nothing's looking like it's already compromised, such as, abnormal thyroid levels, estrogen through the roof, things like that are going to make it more challenging when you think you're doing all the things you should be doing to get those actual results. So take the time, get that information first with your hormones, your labs, make sure you're healthy and good to go, and also having a good sleep routine in place is ideal, understanding that it is going to vary, but having some commitment as well to your sleep, because your sleep and hormonal health and weight maintenance, there's so much that goes into this. But yeah, at the end of the day, the nitty gritty is getting into that caloric deficit, and how everyone gets there can be a little different, but I definitely suggest trying to do it in as healthful as a way of if possible. Can you do cardio every day? I think you should move every day. So what cardio is to everyone could be a little bit different. I think cardio is one of those things that's gotten a bad rap. As much as like lifting has gotten so popular, which is awesome, I think it became trendy to be like, I never do any cardio and I eat 4,000 calories and I look super lean. And that was just a bunch of lying going on Instagram socials. You should immediately unfollow those people. Most of them are lying too. Like I said, very small percentage that's going to be genetically freakish like that. But it depends. Like for me, I just feel like you need to move every day, but I'm coming from someone who sits the majority of my life, sadly, between work and being in a car. So movement's really important. Does it have to be an established cardio session on a treadmill, in the gym, on a step mill? It doesn't. It just has to be moving more. You got to move every day. To skip cardio altogether and ignore your cardiovascular health, I also think is a mistake. If you are truly trying to get lean, you do not want to ignore the health of your heart, and being conscious of that is going to require you to work it and use it. So I do think most people should be doing 1 to 2 cardio sessions minimum a week to really kind of push up the intensity, get that heart rate up, see how that feels. It is also going to probably give you better results. You can also take some shifts in what styles of cardio you do. There's all different kinds. There's a lot more we could get into the weeds with how to play around with modifying stuff to get lean, but a lot of what we discussed are the basics. I love a 20 to 30 minute walk after dinner. Like in the summertime when it's late and I'm able to do that and eat dinner and then go out with the dogs later, those are my best times, you know, when I'm able to do that. And for most people that wouldn't be scheduled cardio, that would just be like going for a little walk, but it all adds up. It doesn't matter. Just like I'm eating toast and eggs for dinner, it doesn't matter if you do break up your cardio during the day. If you break up small sessions where you take a 10-minute walk 3 times a day, so you've gotten in 30 minutes of walking, that's fine. That's just as good as if you did a 30-minute walk. So you got to kind of throw out some of those rules thinking, well, I don't have time to do 30 minutes, so I'm just not going to do anything at all. No. Get out there, do it. Jason dragged me out this morning to get my head straight because I was in a badass mood. So he's like, no, let's just go outside, go for a walk with the dogs, start your day right. And it absolutely did. So thank you for that, Jay. Because I'm running on 1.5 hours of sleep right now. So if I sound a little less intelligent than normal, I would like to blame my...
You just look sleepy.
I do look sleepy?
Yeah, I'm like, why does she look so sleepy? I'm like, oh yeah, she's sleepy.
It's also because that big light's on my eyeballs and it's making me like that. Like I don't want to open my eyes.
Yeah, that's why you look like you're like...
I look like Dennis. All right. So I think we're going to wrap up the video here. It's 7:50. We've gone, I wanted to go about 45 minutes, but I got a little chatty. The toast got a little cold. I hope you guys enjoyed. I can't. Did you see it? It was a hot mess. It wasn't going to work. I would have needed I need a helper in here with me talking while I actually eat my dinner. So maybe I need to pick an easier dinner next time. So.
He wants somebody to come in. He's literally pushing him in dinner.
For JJ to come in?
Yeah.
The dogs are mad at me right now, so I gotta get them fed. I gotta get myself fed and then get myself some good ass sleep tonight. And to be continued, I'll let you guys know if I do actually decide that I want to do a cut or something that I want to create content for. Like sometimes I also just like to do my own thing and not publicize it either. So we'll see.
It could be like an experiment. You tried it different. Well, you never tried it before.
How should I do it?
I don't know.
You want to do my cut? You want to run my cut, coach?
No.
No, so I'd bite his head off. I'd be like, you are not freaking dropping my carbs. I'd be so mad at you.
Forget the time I ate barbecue chips in front of you.
Ooh, yeah. That was one day out, man. I was pissed at everyone.
Your sister probably.
Oh, thanks, Jess. You're so sweet. I didn't film any content this weekend because of the Buff Bunny launch, and I wanted to do the live. I like these lives and chatting with you all. But Jason's like, you better not bitch out.
That's exactly what I said too.
And then when I I
words.
didn't sleep last night because I don't know what's going on with my hands. If it's carpal tunnel, I was like, oh my God, I am gonna be hot mess express tonight. I don't know how. I got through the day splendidly. I had my department monthly meeting today. I think it went fantastic. I had a couple other meetings that I had to run. And I felt like I handled my day like a boss. So I'm actually very proud of myself right now. So that's the other thing. Recognize your wins. You're always going to have some failures, but quit putting so much effort and focus on those and recognize the small daily wins. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to enjoy my toast. And I'm going to call it a night, YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this live. If you did, before you head on out of here, it does help me if you do like the video. If you want to throw a comment down below and let me know what other lives you would like discussed or any other future videos, please let me know. We do a lot more than but funny content around here, so I always like to hear what content you all are enjoying the most on YouTube. So I hope everyone has an amazing night and gets good sleep and has a good healthy dinner, and maybe we'll get lean together at some point. To be continued. Have a great night, everyone.